This is the process shot. I'm Michael. I'm pretty sure I've used the joke about being stuck in purgatory before. And I've seen Goke, Body Snatcher from Hell. Directed by Hajime Sato back in 1968, this Japanese horror drama follows a group of airline passengers who initially experience strange events, including red skies, suicidal birds, a hijacking attempt, and an encounter with a UFO. Crash landing in an unknown desert, the surviving crew and passengers have to not only contend with survival, but the hijacker, who has now escaped. Unbeknownst to them, his body has itself been hijacked by the earlier aliens, who seek to destroy humankind, beginning with the crash survivors. However, it doesn't take long for fear and paranoia and other long-simmering tensions to settle in and nearly tear everybody apart before the aliens can even make an impact. Needless to say, this movie has a bit more going on than supernatural horror. In fact, most of the film focuses on the interpersonal relationships of the characters, each of whom are given quite enough time to have a well-developed motivation or personality, with every character in some way representing an aspect of contemporary society, from disaffected youth to corrupt politicians and even a Vietnam widow. Furthermore, everybody's given a distinct point of view, and some even have deeper backstories. In spite of all these modern traits, as time passes, the basic instinct of human nature begins to surface, pushing characters into actions they may have seen as barbaric only days, if not hours before. This psychological exploration is actually enough of a threat to these people on its own, with the aliens being more of a literal threat to their survival rather than existential. The science fiction aspect ends up being pushed into the background over time, though the zombie-like attacker does pose a formidable threat on its own, which in turn only fuels the ongoing fear. While the two sides do eventually meet up, the story overall eventually comes down to what kind of person is able to think rationally enough to survive a situation like this, and with a selfless sense of morals intact as well. The technical aspects of the film seem to be the trade-off to this deeper, socially conscious storyline, but it seems to work out well given the circumstances of the story. The movie takes place in a single desert environment, which is shown in a pretty expansive manner through some varied cinematography choices. There are some especially effective night scenes, with limited lighting that keep only the crash site's immediate surroundings lit, and the rest of the world in almost pure darkness, all but outright illustrating the isolation of the survivors. The film's editing and pacing keep in time with the tension of scenes, with an ongoing sense of dread and despair as the situation grows more hopeless. Color design is somewhat bland, given the natural environment around the crash site, but whenever the sci-fi elements are present, things become a bit more psychedelic and truly otherworldly. The special effects involved are also pretty neat to see, even if they aren't particularly convincing by today's standards. Even so, it does still make me wish that the sci-fi and psychological aspects of this horror movie were a bit more clearly intertwined. The overall story that we get in the end makes for some excellent commentary, even if the sci-fi still feels a bit like an afterthought. Goke, Body Snatcher from Hell. Hajime Sato, 1968. 4 stars. I definitely recommend watching it. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I do wonder what this movie would be like without the aliens, though. I guess the hard part would be figuring out how everybody gets knocked off. That's how horror works, you know? Well, mostly.